Tale as old as time, Beauty and the Beast. This is okay. Otherworld, episode 7, The Mansion of the Beast. This week, they are making their way through another one of the provinces, and they come across a land that is controlled by a man who could best be described as pretty much being the beast from the fairy tales. This is before the Disney movie, so I can't say it based on Disney Beauty and the Beast, but based on the storybook of Beauty and the Beast. And this episode pretty much follows along with that, where on the journey, they find an injured animal. June picks up the animal and shows love to it. And this entire time, they're getting watched by the guy who is the quote unquote beast character, who then eventually confronts them, injures Hal, forcing them to have to go and find some place so he can get help. But they can't leave unless they leave June with the beast. And it's a very much where June is pretty much Belle from the story, and the Beast is pretty much the Beast from the story, where he tries to control her. He wants her to love him, and eventually she sees his softer side. But because she is married and wants to be with her family, yeah, it also when they're trying to get help for Hal, they come across a guy who is the Beast brother, and he helps them in a mission to go rescue June. Unbeknownst to them, June was able to talk the Beast into letting her leave. So they're literally crossing paths almost, and ends up in a thing at the end where the Beast gets hit with an arrow made out of a fallen star, it looked like. And they end up, and he ends up through the power of June's platonic love for him, turns back into the human that he once was. And that is the story. Matt, what do you think?
All right, this is whoa, it was like, whoa, okay, all right, they went from sci-fi to fantasy like straight. They didn't even try. It like
I will give them this. I was mad that it was fantasy in my sci-fi show. They do have a throwaway statement towards the end of the episode
yeah,
where they explain that this is still sci-fi.
yeah, but for the whole episode, I'm sort of like, okay, well, I guess that where there went that show, I guess the writers decided to go somewhere else. I mean, I got it at the end. Yeah, it worked. They tried to science it up at the last second, but yeah, I mean, the whole time I'm sort of like, where did my show go? You know,
Exactly. Like, how come I'm watching Beauty and the Beast all of a sudden?
and this dude had like god powers, like magical, unbelievable kind of powers,
But he
and
only had it within a certain vicinity. When if you want to break it, that adds to the sci-fi or to the sci-fi aspects of it, I guess, that he, is like in Star Trek, they go to some planet where like some creature there has full control of the planet, but they find out it's because he has some special piece of machinery. It's kind of almost the same thing here with what was the beast name? Do
hmm,
you remember? What's called the beast? Yeah, the powers that the magic, quote unquote, magical powers that the beast has. They try to explain it is sci-fi, which the fact that it only works in a certain area also kind of adds to that idea.
hmm.
But yeah, sorry, Matt. Go ahead.
No, it's cool. Yeah, that was the big thing. I was going through this, and I'm like, okie dokie, this is not the show I was watching, but okay, and yeah, the dude could like do crazy, crazy, absurd things that made no sense at all when you don't get your sci-fi explanation at the very end. And okay, all right, I guess I'll just try to enjoy this completely different show. But I don't know, it was so cheesy at the end. Oh my god, how she saved him. I was like, oh god, I was like putting my hand on my face. I try to give the show some credit even when it's cheesy because it's an 80s show and that's just how it went. But I was like, oh god, man, that's felt bad. But whoo, yeah, that's about it. You guys can go.
All right. Now, I said back on episode 5 that episode 5, the Motor Pig one, was the absolute worst episode of the series. I'm convinced at this point, this series went 8 episodes. This episode is the reason why I got canceled.
Yeah, this is a pretty bad episode.
This episode is not the worst of the series. This is utter garbage. The series was doing something really good. If you look at those past episodes, you look at the first one, it dealt with like communism, it dealt with police state. The second one dealt with mandatory military service. Third one dealt with Epstein Island type of thing. Fourth one dealt with teenagers versus their parents, things that were viewed as being negative and so forth. Fifth one dealt with, I'll even say that's good because it dealt with cults, it dealt with drug addiction. Sixth one dealt with sexism. This one deals with nothing at all.
Beauty and the Beast.
It deals with the writer's obsession.
The only thing that I could say that this episode really focuses on is Stockholm Syndrome. And that is such a weak argument for the good of this episode that I'm not surprised it's canceled. I'm super disappointed in this series because it's doing some good stuff. And then this is like, they didn't care. They didn't try. They're like, well, we need to do something that is wholesome for the family, fun and fantasy world loving, kind of stuff. But then they kind of killed him too, which is kind of funny. Even though then they brought him back to life. It's so utterly ridiculous and so unbelievable and so cliche with the whole, we're going to go hunt him now. And she's like, I'm going to go back at the same exact time to stop them and save him. And they're crossing paths. It's so predictable. It's just like, it's in this series, it's equivalent to anal dribble. It's just so bad.
Are you saying, Mike, you don't like the episode of the TV? I'm trying to do the voice, but I can't really do it. Trying to get the. Yeah, I feel like he's like kind of talking underwater or something.
Well, yeah, but I mean the fact that you can call it platonic love, but really you could tell it's not platonic love, and the fact that she falls in love with him the way she does, it makes it so much even more unbelievable. And they try to save it because they do this whole tie-in to was it a place called Enmar or where they have to go.
It's like as some some mystical place called Earth, and they're trying to tie it into the main story and making it look like, okay, they're gonna get and they do get pieces of information, and I'm sure would help them if the series were to continue and they actually made it home. But
it just doesn't connect in this episode at all. It's like it's kind of just forced in to make it part of the series. It's like the writers knew that this is really bad, but what else do they have to do? So it kind of makes me worry to see what we're going to get in episode 8 at this point.
I'm looking at this and I'm actually watching it now while we're talking about it, and it's like maybe it's because they were expecting to go 26 episodes. But you know that there's going to be a couple episodes that are going to be a little lackluster because they when you do this for 26 seasons, they're not all going to be gang bangers. But that's the only thing I can think of is that they were just like, okay, this will be a slow week, so we'll throw in one of our weaker episodes or something, not knowing that the writing was on the wall and are getting canceled.
Yeah.
I don't think that the episode alone was the reason they canceled it. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that there's really nothing holding these episodes together other than the Sterling family. There's every episode is completely different. Kroll's not in every one of them, which that would help. If Kroll was in it along with the family, it would really kind of help tie these shows together and give it some kind of running story, or otherwise it's kind of like, okay, where are they this week?
Show where Kroll's being taught how to be a good slave and falling in love with his doctor.
Yes,
that would have been awesome.
That would have been awesome. But no, they decided to make it where it's literally Beauty and the Beast. It is literally, I mean, even there's almost to the point where there's a face that's on one of the plates on the wall. And I'm like,
yeah,
is he going to sing and speak French to me? I mean,
and at one point he's speaking to her and he gives her a flower and says something about beauty or something like that. And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about beauty or whatever, but it's sort of like, yeah, okay, you can throw that word in there, whatever.
That's the ironic thing, I think, is that you're comparing it to Beauty and the Beast, but I gotta say, she's not a beauty. I'm sorry.
You would think they would have used Gina and not June as the girl that he would like.
Well, you can't because now you're dealing with pedophilia.
Well, because the character's 17, but the actress is 21.
Yeah, so that's going to be a whole which actually would have been a good direction for it because now you're dealing with a topic that's akin to those that have been dealt with before, rather than no topic that's of any relevance in this one.
Yeah.
And the daughter was also kind of almost became a slave to some dude in the, whatever Motor Pig episode.
Yeah.
You could play twice.
Yeah. All right. Now, what was it? The idea though that at the last minute of it mentioned, interdimensional, stuff. People bring back weird stuff and powers and whatever. They could have done so much cool stuff with that. Maybe they were planning on doing some cool stuff with that eventually. And they could have, of course, introduced that way better, of course. But that was something that actually moved the plot in the last minute, tiny bit.
And it moves the overall plot, which is something that doesn't happen a lot in this show, where they're like, oh, by the way, it's part of a larger thing. That's like they just don't do anything. It's just, and that's like one of my biggest complaints about the show is that we're now 7 episodes in, and there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of stuff of like, okay, what's Kroll doing? How come I don't see anything happening on his end of the thing where he's like, shouldn't he be getting yelled at because he still hasn't found these people or something?
This is 1985. We can only get so far with these.
Yeah, I guess. Still kind of disappointing though. Like you're expecting more and you're just not getting it.
But in
I'm wondering-
1985, he might not have been.
I'm wondering if his access crystal is stolen. Did he have to go to HR to get a visitor access crystal in the meantime?
Yeah, does he get like somebody's on vacation so he gets to use theirs until they get back, but then he has to give the
And how the heck did Hal still get that clown costume on the last episode?
I know. That's
So-
ridiculous to me.
The question.
And like I'm thinking about the names of these characters. So you got Hal. Hal makes sense because it's a sci-fi series, and there's like Hal is the name of the character from the Space Odyssey 2001. That's the name of the robot or the name of the computer or whatever.
That doesn't do anything you asked it to do.
Yeah. You got June. So
That's maybe when the show started airing.
maybe
Is that like one of the name of like the Jetsons' mom? June Jetson?
So that's Jane.
Jets
Okay,
Jane.
Jane Jetson. Okay.
Yeah, June, I don't know. And then you got Gina. I'm not really sure what that's from. Trace Smith.
Yeah, that's a little wild. That's been
Smith.
wonky.
It's like
Actually, I knew somebody that was named Smitty. So
Well, I think that sounds like a mid 2000s name for a kid, Smith. Like
well, to me that was stricken. Like he would call him Smitty because his last name is Smith, and like maybe he's Joe Smith, and there's also like a Joe Jones or whatever, and Joe Jones. You know him longer, so he's Joe already.
he's irrelevant to the show. There hasn't been one episode where he's really had to stand out at all.
Nah, not at all. Like, even when they were on the island, the only thing he got to do there is he played around with their weather machine for like 2 seconds. And it's like, why is he even in this program? At least everybody else has had a storyline. I didn't watch it, but I looked at the synopsis. Gina is the central character for episode 8. So even she's getting her own episode. Everybody, all the more grown up people are getting their own episode, and Smith is getting left out in the dark. He doesn't get his own episode.
Well, you're trying to find a good kid actor, and then there's all these laws even back then.
Well, yeah,
They should have just watched School Rock.
they could have done something where like maybe it's his episode, but he doesn't have to be in a ton of it. It could be like where he is kidnapped or something. I don't know.
Well,
I can't even
They only had 8 episodes so far. They
yeah,
probably didn't get to the They only had a short order, I guess, probably.
Here's a random question I have for you guys on this episode, but I'm kind of throwing this around in my mind. Do you think the episode would have been any better if they didn't bring the guy back to life at the end, if they left him dead?
Yeah, that would help a lot.
Yeah, I would think.
it would have helped a little bit, but you're still helping like something like the entire time I got the song from Beauty and the Beast in my head the entire time I'm watching this. Tale as old as time. Otherworld. Yeah.
You want to hear something interesting?
What's that?
Beauty and the Beast. I don't know if they had anything that ever inspired the look of either of these animated or this show, but it kind of looks a little bit like the animated thing might have actually been slightly inspired by this guy.
It might have been. This came out in 1985. The animated movie was like in 1991 or 92. So it was way, way after this. So you can't go and say that they actually copied Disney because it also this is a story in the public domain. So what's
Yeah, Disney copied a lot of stuff. Like a lot of their stuff is from like Brothers Grimm.
yeah.
So I don't know if Beauty and the Beast is, but it may be. In which case, if it is, then it's going to be a lot darker than the Disney stuff or what Otherworld did. So is Otherworld then copying something like the Brothers Grimm?
Which is what I think it kind of is. I think it's like it's Otherworld copied the same source material that Disney copied. They just went their own way with it, and I'm sure Disney got some ideas from this. Like the fact that we're talking about this show and it's been off the air for 40 years and only did 8 episodes. You know, there's somebody at the Walt Disney Company who watched the show.
Oh yeah.
Especially since like all those movies were coming out around that time. So
Okay, so Beauty and the Beast is actually a French fairy tale going back to 1740.
okay.
So it wasn't Twisted Grimm stuff, probably.
No, it wasn't twisted, but it doesn't mean that it wasn't twisted. It just means it wasn't Brothers Grimm stuff.
Hmm.
So if you take like Cinderella, if you ever read Brothers Grimm Cinderella, dude, that's some bad stuff. That's where it's like the stepsisters have to walk Cinderella to the altar with crows on their shoulders that are picking out their eyeballs.
Oh yeah, nice.
So yeah, they get it's serious dark stuff. I like it. Hansel and Gretel, I think, is Brothers Grimm, where they actually do get cooked in the end.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, there's also like the one that I always think of is the Little Mermaid, where they actually took her tail, split it into two to make her legs, and through the entire time, not only could she not talk, she's in an insane amount of pain.
Yeah. And that's and the reason why is because these fairy tales weren't meant to put kids to sleep happily. They're meant to scare kids into doing the right thing.
Yeah. So that's and then so like you see it here with like Beauty and the Beast. Was when did this come out? That you said the 1840s,
1740.
1740s. Okay. So yeah, it's like it's a whole different animal actually, where it's
Whole other different beast.
a different beast. It's a totally different beast. I was very disappointed with this one. I'm like, there's the only thing that I think they kind of threw it in there as almost like, well, the episode is pretty bad, but hey, at least we're moving the story along a little bit. And I'm like, okay, but you could have thrown this at the end of an episode that actually featured the main bad guy who hasn't been in this or several other episodes. I mean, where's Kroll? If Kroll's in the opening credits, how come he's in only like 3 or 4 of the episodes?
Yeah, true.
He's never in any of these.
Yeah.
So when you here, it's like a treat because all of a sudden, oh look, there's the main bad guy to this whole thing. He actually showed up.
I think it's 1, 2, 4, and 6.
1, 2, 4, and 6 are the third and 8 because we haven't seen it yet. But yeah, and possibly 8. Yeah, and it's like why what's going on here? How come he's not in any of these episodes? Like
This is before they would, flash back to different people and multiple, storylines.
Well, you could argue that 5 had the presence of troopers because of the beginning, and I think the troopers. I don't think was he in 5 with the motor pigs, or was it just troopers that were there?
He was in the Motor Pigs one.
Okay, so then he was in 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6.
Okay, so he's like in most of the episodes, but there's like episodes where he's never even mentioned, like not even in passing. Like it's not even like, oh geez, imagine if Kroll saw this. Like nothing.
Yeah.
And everything is just, it's like, you never know how much time passes in these episodes because all of a sudden they have a job and a house.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like you're dressing up as a clown to go to your wife's job. Do you
I like
the first day that she's there, or do you need to ease into that? You
I
know,
love the Motor Pigs episode actually took place in between some places.
Yeah.
That was good.
If you look at the second one, you've gone to school long enough to get bad grades.
exactly. Yeah, all of a sudden, like when the report cards come out, report cards are already going up. And you've been in this school for 2 minutes. You know, it's like, are they super strict where if you get an F on the first test, you're just not going to make it?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's like a lot of open questions, a lot of things that like, yeah, like I started seeing holes in this show like the third or fourth episode. I'm like, okay, I could see why a lot of reasons why this didn't make it, and it's that because it leaves you wondering, well, how come this? How come that? There's too many questions, too many holes. You know, this would have been a good show if it went if it started on the Sci-Fi Channel instead of being repeated on the Sci-Fi Channel. It wasn't CBS, but on Sci-Fi Channel, Sci-Fi would have gave it more time. They would have gave it a different direction. Be like, you know what? Let's concentrate less on this and concentrate more on this. Let's not do Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
Let's not do Epstein Island.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, Matthew, any other thoughts?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the next one, but you have to expect it's going to be cliffhanger kind of no resolution. But yeah,
Well, I don't think it's going to be a cliffhanger because they're not episode. Or they're not
yeah,
in a series enough. They're all episodical, so it's just gonna end with them getting out of whatever situation it is, and then expecting the next episode would be them doing a new situation.
yeah, that makes sense.
I just know that it's called Princess Mantra, and I do know that Gina is the quote unquote princess. What happens from that on, I don't know. So that's going to be our final episode of this. I would love to, since we are doing guests and interviews and stuff. I'm kind of curious how hard it would be to get one of the people from the show on.
Probably very difficult.
Yeah,
Well, I
probably.
don't know. I mean, what do they? I mean, Matt, last week you talked about what they're doing, or last time you talked about what they're doing now. And like, isn't like, doesn't like with it Jonah Lee? She like is a yoga instructor,
Sculptor.
sculptor. That's what it is. She's a sculptor now. And then Tony O'Dell, he was in one of the Karate Kid movies, but he really hasn't done much else. None of these people are really stars.
Well, Kroll dude's Breaking Bad guy.
Okay, yeah, Kroll did other than Kroll. Kroll did something. Yeah, Kroll, yeah, he's the bald guy from Breaking Bad. But other than that, like none of these people have become like A-list stars. Wouldn't we be able to up one of them, would you think?
Well, speaking of being nobody, unless we had millions of viewers, we probably wouldn't get their attention.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I've heard of like,
I would say get the kid. So we can find out, how did you feel about not really being a role in the show?
you had like your one line per episode, and that was it. It's like, oh, they're on the phone.
I mean, he might as well have been the advertisement, like sitting at the table eating Life cereal. You know?
Yeah, they could have named him Mikey instead of like Mikey likes it.
Exactly.
And he'll be around our age.
Like you see him jump by on a pogo ball or something in one of the episodes.
Yeah. I'm wondering like what the behind the scenes are like on doing this show. Like, number one, did the cast get it? Like sometimes you do these shows and you don't get it. You don't know what the show's about. You get lines, you read your lines, and you do what the director tells you, and you go home. But do they get the premise? Did they wrap their head around it? Because like I said, like I've said several times, for us, we get it easy. We've watched other shows that are similar, but if you've never seen this before, different dimension, what province, what who, what it's
Yeah.
I doubt back in the day they'd do bother with like, filling the cast in on anything.
But the cast members might still get it just because they're like, you have a level of intelligence. You read the script and you're like, oh, okay, I kind of get what's going on here with this family. Okay,
That's another reason why I'd like to get, if we could get one of them, get someone in the younger cast, because they'll probably have a better memory of those times. Because I'm curious what they knew about the next scripts for the episodes that never aired, and if there were like filming done on them, and whatever happened to the filming of the following episodes.
Yeah, no, I wonder myself. Like, yeah, 'cause, like there's got to be like, did they have the whole season planned? Or it's just like it failed and it failed, so they just gave up on it.
Or if you want it badly enough, you can look up the names on the credits and find the writers, see what they had planned for it. Try to dig them up, try to get an email or something.
Yeah, no, it's actually depending. We might actually have an easier time getting a hold of like a writer or producer or somebody who worked behind the scenes of the show. Yeah, it's 'cause I'm like, I would love to know more of like what was planned, where were they going, what was it like working on the show. Was there somebody on the show who did not get what they were doing? They just like were there for the check, all those type of things. All right. So we sound like we're ready to bring this one home.
Yeah, I think this is the end of this one.
All right. Well, thanks, folks. We'll catch you next week for our last episode covering episode 8, Princess Metra. And until then, Matt, you want to give us that final word?
Fantasy.